Have faith and dream big, but above all, surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, who are willing to take a shot in you. They can only
Yeah.
believe in you when you show to them that you have something within you. I still remember the date, it was 11th September.
You know what they say, desperate times call for trusting that your passion and network can take you further than you ever imagined. If you've ever second guessed your ambitions, this one's for you. This is Desperate Times. Welcome back to another episode of Desperate Times. I am Sakshi, and today we're joined by Clerisa Varghese, whose journey proves that chasing what excites you and leaning into the right connections can open doors you never expected. From building confidence to building a community, Clarissa shows us how passion and self belief can shape a career you actually love. So let's welcome Clarissa Varghese. Funny story is that Clarissa and I met 2 years ago at a networking event, and then we've stayed connected on LinkedIn since. And this is the first time we're actually chatting one on one on a podcast video setting.
Yeah.
So far, it's just been messages. So, welcome, Clarissa, to Desperate Times. We're so glad to have you here.
Yes, I'm so glad that Sakshi, you went on this journey of like starting your own podcast because I see so much potential in the work that you do and the way you put
Oh,
yourself
thank you.
out there. And shout out to our mutual friend Clive who connected us. And it just
Yes,
goes to show the power of networking over time. 2 years since, and I have recommended you opportunities. We keep riffing off on LinkedIn and go to networking events. And there's nothing like meeting people in real life. You'll stay connected with them after years together.
put yourself out there. And like Taylor Swift says, fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you become it, as I like to rephrase it.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So, Clarissa, why don't you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself before we dive in into all the things that we have to share with them?
Yeah. My name is Clerisa Varghese. I came to Canada 3 years ago. Before that, I was in the space of human resources. And even when I came to Canada, there was an interesting story behind how I landed in Canada. I knew that I wanted to settle abroad one day. I just didn't know which country it was. I remember telling my parents that, hey, if I get more than 90 percentage in my 10th grade, can I please go into St. Xavier's College? Because that was the it college in Mumbai
Yeah,
back
yeah.
then. And they were like, okay, cool. If you get more than 90, we'll allow you to do that because that showed that I had sense of responsibility. So
Yeah.
I diligently woke up at 5 a.m. every
Wow.
morning to study and make it to my dream college. So that happened, got a lot of learning lessons from that experience. 5 years, traveled 1.5 hour one way just to get to college and then come back. But best 5 years of my life. We take things so granted. Like even when you're traveling in a local train, there's so much you can learn. Like how do you build relationships with people? How do you make friends with people who you see on a day-to-day basis?
Mhm.
Over time, that culminated into me being so good friends with them, that they would offer their seat. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Clarissa, come, sit, have a seat
Yeah.
with us." So all of those learning lessons wouldn't have happened if I
Yeah.
wouldn't have, pushed myself out there to say that, you know what, I want to make it to my dream college. So that go-getter attitude has always been in me.
And the go-getter attitude, even when we met at that event 2 years ago, we both were sort of trying to do our own things, and then we kind of bumped into each other waiting for food. And I feel like when you meet people like that and you don't know much about them, there's this sort of vibe or energy that you somehow know that this person knows how to do their stuff and they can handle themselves. And I could see it even back then. And then connecting with you on LinkedIn, seeing how you put out your posts and the way you interact with people. And if you don't put yourself out there, people won't know and you miss out on opportunities.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. No opportunity is going to come to you. You have to create them. I firmly believe in that statement.
No, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. So college happened, knew I wanted to settle abroad. And while I was making my plans as to how can I make this happen, because I'm not from a really well-to-do family, we used to get by. And I had a conversation with my parents that, would you be willing to support me financially to go abroad? And their answer was that as much as we love you, we don't have that kind of financial savings to be able to support you. So I knew that I needed to save up. What would that financial planning look like? So while I was doing this, I was at the company called CGI, and they had like a human resource global orientation call. And I connected with somebody who was the VP of HR in Canada. I connected with him on LinkedIn without any hidden motive. I just wanted to ask him that, hey, if I were to consider Canada as one of the countries that I want to settle in, what kind of universities would make sense? So I had my list of questions. If these are the universities I've shortlisted, do you think that these are good universities? So that was the whole point of the call and reaching out to him. To my absolute surprise, he responded back on LinkedIn saying that, Clarissa, I want to have a chat with you. And I was like, okay, cool.
Wow.
So we connected on Teams. I still remember the date. It was 11th September.
Wow.
I had a conversation with him. I had my notes prepared. It was early morning for him. It was 5 p.m. for us when we had that call. And I told him that, I'm passionate about HR. I was doing certain things. I was posting on LinkedIn actively at that time too. And you would
Nice.
ask me that, what is this young graduate posting on LinkedIn? And I knew that I wanted to post about things that I was passionate about. So back then, I was really crazy about TED Talk summaries. So that's what I was doing. I was posting TED Talk, like carousels,
Mm-hmm.
giving my own spin of what am I doing to apply it in my personal life. Because back
Yep.
then, I thought that learning and development excited me a lot,
Mm-hmm.
anything to do with like interaction with other people. So he could see that repository. I had seen that he checked out my profile. So I knew
Mm-hmm.
that he may have some lingering impressions of what that would look like. So I have all my conversations ready. And I told him that this is what I'm excited about, why I'm passionate about this field. We connected. He was also from Mumbai. He grew up in Mumbai.
Oh,
So we were
wow.
able to riff off on that as well.
Amazing.
Towards the end of the call, he said that, Clarissa, I love the determination with which you've reached out. I want you to interview for a role here in Canada. And I was like, whoa,
What?
excuse me? What?
Are you serious?
Yeah. It, didn't see that coming at all. I had no idea that that's what
Mm-hmm.
was waiting for me at the other end of the conversation. So I interviewed for the role with the human resources director after a couple of months. And 8 months from that conversation, I was sitting in an airplane to come to Canada. So that's been my background journey of how I landed in Canada.
I have goosebumps right now because I know the story in brief when we met and everything, but I have goosebumps right now listening to it again
Yeah.
because it feels so surreal, and I can only imagine how you must have felt.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful for that experience because it taught me to have faith and dream big, but above all, surrounding yourself with people who believe in you, who are willing to take a shot in you. They can only
Yeah.
believe in you when you show to them that you have something within you.
You have to believe in yourself for other people to believe in you is what I firmly believe in.
Yeah.
Too much belief there. But I've seen that happen with so many people because I don't come from a marketing background as well, right? People had to take a chance on me, give me that opportunity as well to make that pivot. Had no one really trusted that, okay, this girl can actually do something for our company in terms of marketing, really wouldn't be here. I would still be somewhere in hospitality crying that why am I
Mm.
still here? So
Yeah.
giving that opportunity, I feel like having those people is really important in your life.
Yes. Cannot say it enough. I can go and scream on rooftop to say you gotta believe in yourself before
Yeah.
anyone else believes in you.
No, that's so true. That is so true. When you landed in Canada, you did your interview with that HR director and you landed a role in CGI, Canada, you were in India. So what did that early career in human resources look like in Canada? Were there like differences between India and Canada? And how did you feel about it?
The early differences that I could spot is before I started working with CGI, even in the India department, I was working with this company called PwC, one of the big four consultancies.
Nice.
That really gave me the exposure of working with international clients. So, shout out to my friend, a friend even today. Her name is Kriti, and who I met at
Oh,
PwC. She was from the Switzerland PwC department, and I was from India, and we got to work on a project together, people and change management project, and we
nice.
got to see the art of like selling people different kinds of change management. So, when I say change management, for anyone who doesn't know about this industry, let's say that your entire organization is going through SAP's version 1 to version 2.
Mm.
And when you go through this change, your entire workforce needs to know that how do I use this tool better?
Mm-hmm.
You can make your own plans, but your organization members, such as you in marketing or another person in your organization in HR, have their own deliverables to take
Yeah.
care of. So in that, how do you ensure that all the workforce does get, onboarded onto the new version? So you
Mm.
bring in an external consultancy who are expert at tech consultancy and even people in change management specialists like ourselves
Mm-hmm.
to help them navigate through that map. So Kriti and I were working on that project, and from there I learned the art of communication with different stakeholders, international project that was. And the biggest difference that I saw from an Indian cultural standpoint where I was working and North American culture was appreciation for work. Appreciation for work gets so lost in the rut of doing things on the go. I'm not saying that the managers in India or the work culture in India is intentionally choosing to not appreciate folks. I think it just happens to be that people are so caught up in the way they're doing things that you don't take a pause to say that how can I appreciate my team?
Mhm.
Versus comparing that to what I was doing here, I had a lot more ownership in the work that I was doing, also a lot more appreciation for the work that I was doing, and better boundaries. 5 o'clock means that you can really shut off
5
your
o'clock.
laptop and take care of your personal life. Like, I have a
Yeah.
better personal life here in Canada than I did in India. And also, I started my career in the bank in pandemic, so that attributed to what my
Mm.
social life looked like in India. But from a cultural standpoint, you can see that in the vocabulary as well of how
Mhm.
appreciative people are.
No, that's true because even in marketing back home, my hours looked like officially 11 to 8, but it wasn't 11 to 8, it was maybe like 9, 10 to 9, 10. So it was like 10 to 12 hours straight. And then weekends, maybe you get a little bit of a breather, but
Mm.
not really. On occasion, that can also be a jeopardy. So
Yeah.
I completely hear you on that. And the parallels are insane when you talk about like these different departments between the two countries because 5 o'clock really does mean five, and sometimes it can even be 4:30 in the summer, right?
Yeah.
So
And
that's great. Yeah.
that's definitely great. And because I saw my dad go to work 1.5 hour one way to his job was in like proper Mumbai and
Mm-hmm.
come back home. He had a beautiful life, but I decided that that's not the life that I want, where I go to work, come back at like 9 p.m., so deadbeat, and live a
Mm-hmm.
life, which is why that fire in my belly that I want to move somewhere abroad where there's better life culture and life
Right.
values were, given more weightage than work.
Yeah, I mean, work is a part of your life and not your whole life, right?
Correct.
And that is what is very important here in Canada. And even the shops, they shut at 7 on the weekend because they want their employees to go and enjoy life as well and not just keep working all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
And now that we're talking about you becoming a public speaking coach and getting into that space, was there a single point where you felt like what you were doing before wasn't enough?
Yeah, I wouldn't call this a single point. It
Mm-hmm.
was a culmination of different things that led me to this pull of I want to be in the space of public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
For context, one of the first introductions that I've had to public speaking, or I saw people who had influence when they would speak, was
Mm-hmm.
during my church years. So in church, we have something called a Sunday school,
Yeah.
where volunteers, leaders, who are probably in their 20s, would come in front of the entire kids and
Mm-hmm.
do activities, teach them new things. And I remember two people actually who stood out to me. There were the one person's name is Sony. Sony is a guy, and then there was Maria
Mm-hmm.
Chechi. Chechi is a term in Malayalam which means that elder sister.
Oh.
So I saw these two people, the way, the kind of excitement that they had to rally
Mm-hmm.
all of these kids to do activities, that really spoke to me. So that was my first introduction to
Mm.
having influence over mindsets, and
Right.
it's one to many.
Mm-hmm.
That really pulled me towards the public speaking. That was one instance. And the second instance was in sixth grade. My friend Vaishali from my school, she and I, we hosted a Christmas celebration. Like, we were the MC for that particular day. And she and I had this diary in front of me, and I was speaking about Christmas and things. And that's when I first got that taste and that inclination that public speaking is really fascinating and I like
Yeah.
it. So that's how I got pulled into it. And over time, even in Canada, I felt this real need of immigrants and people struggling with the art of presentations.
Yeah.
Presentation is such a powerful tool to communicate your
Mm-hmm.
ideas, to storytell your ideas, to really get that buy in. But
Mm-hmm.
what do we end up saying? And more often than not, it's a bunch of slides with a lot of bullet points and people genuinely like checking out while they're watching that entire presentation. So I wanted to make
Yeah.
a dent in the world and change that narrative of how do you communicate professionally that
Mm-hmm.
could really change the way people look at you, and you feel confident and good about the way that you've delivered it. So that's how I stumbled into public speaking, specifically communication coaching for professionals.
And I did see a post on, how to give a good meeting, how to not be like, can you hear me? Can you see my slide? Am I audible? And most people won't know this but before we started recording, that's exactly what we ended up doing. And I'm like, this is what she teaches people for a living. What am I doing? Like, I'm doing the same thing that she teaches people. This is not what I do. So I went through that moment right there. But I mean, it's so fascinating that, those seeds that are planted by people that you didn't think would actually be leaving that mark on you as children. And then you grow up and you think about it. And you're like, actually, that might be something I might be good at. That might be something that I like. So that's really fascinating to me that you kept on to that and then took that ahead and you're making it in something so bigger and helping people out even. So it's not just for you, it's doing a greater good here.
Yeah, I am so deeply moved and passionate about this topic. I know that I want to make a dent in the world with this.
No, and I'm sure you will because you're already doing great things and you've only just begun, right?
Yeah, yeah. God willing, God willing.
My fingers are crossed and hopefully we can get there.
Yes.
When you talk about like that passion to help people and communication skills, and did you have doubts or, you know, feel like everyone goes to like, can I do this or where will this take me? Is it worth it? Like, did you have all those questions popping up in your head while you were building this or starting out?
I I wouldn't say that I had any doubts about the need for people to have this, because I was seeing
Mm-hmm.
this very live that people are facing with this problem of
Yeah.
how do you communicate effectively to get people's buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
I was at point A, and I knew that at point B there are people who are willing to wanting to learn more about this.
Yep.
The doubts were like, how do I construct this pipeline and this bridge to
Mm.
get from here to there? And it's been a learning curve, and every entrepreneurial mindset folk experiences this once in their
Of
lifetime,
course.
that they have this passion of wanting to do something, but what steps do I need to put in place to be able to get that bridge? So that's what
Mm-hmm.
the early initial phase of doubts. But as with everything in life, I firmly believe that if you have a problem, you can find a solution. You just got to put your heart and mind to figuring that out, right? So
Yep.
I wanted to ensure that I invested in the right kind of mentors, coaches that help me figure out that how do you put those steps. People can take public transport in life, or
Yes.
people can take Uber in life, right? You can figure things by yourself. You can watch a lot of YouTube videos, you can watch podcasts. If you want to fasten the process of getting better at communication, for that matter, or even like the art of selling, you
Mm.
want to invest in coaches and mentors who'll really show you the steps, because mentors who've been through it and coaches who can give you a different view and perspective can really help you get there faster.
No, that makes so much sense. And if people have done things in life and they're willing to share it, why not take that road and actually help yourself too, right? Like make your
Hmm.
life easier. If those resources are available, utilize them. So that's great. And you said there was a need for it, that you saw people needed help with communication skills and public speaking. This is a fear for so many. And I think you touched on this a little bit earlier as well, where you said that the one to many connection was something that pulled you in your church days when you were younger. Was that the only thing that made you fall in love with public speaking, or were there other things connected to it? Like when you came to Canada, you saw other people doing it. I feel like in India, it's not as much spoken about. Like coaches now, maybe it's becoming a thing, but here it's already a thing. We have so many different types of coaches and they're
Hmm.
valued, right? In India, like, oh, people are like, oh, that's just a rip-off. Like that person, I don't know what they can do. I can do it myself.
Correct.
Was there something that you came here and you're like, okay, I can actually do this here?
Yeah. Firstly, I want to give credit to my grandma and mom, because they really showed me that you can have that influence from one to many. And I say this particularly because my grandma was in Orissa, Rourkela. My grandfather had moved there
Oh,
and was working there. And when you're in another city that is not your own hometown, you still want to build connection. And she was a person of faith. She's not with us anymore, but I think
oh,
about her
sorry to
every
hear
now
that.
and then. I think about her every now and then. And she's given me good values to carry forward as well. So what she would do is that she would huddle a lot of ladies together and have these Bible study sessions with them.
Nice.
And she was the one who was taking initiative. I think that she played a very important role, and learning those stories from her taught me the importance of taking initiative and creating communities the way you would
Mhm.
like. So that was my grandma. And then my mom, she is a teacher at a school at which I studied as well. So seeing her
Uh-huh.
growing up, having that influence in different people. And recently she was telling me that it was like our 10th standard graduation, and all the teachers, they have that sent off ceremony, and
Yeah.
some kid went up on stage, and she had no idea that this was going to happen, said that I want to give a shout out to one teacher here who left an indelible impact on me, and that is my
Wow.
mom, a Shija
Wow.
teacher.
Uh-huh.
And the way she said it, narrated it to
Yeah.
me, felt like she was living her purpose. So both of these people have definitely instilled a lot of values in me to living your purpose. So those were some people. Coming to specifically in Canada, as I mentioned earlier, I was posting a lot of things about TED Talk summaries,
Mm.
learning. And when you are passionate about a subject, you don't have to overthink as to what do I need to write on LinkedIn about. You can just
Yeah.
talk about your learning process itself. So that's what I was doing on LinkedIn. I was posting a lot about communication, and people reached out to me organically saying that, hey, listen, I would like to work with you and get better at communication.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
That was my proof of concept that, you know what, let's go on this path of developing programs that suits the audience and
Mm.
consults them as to what you specifically need, instead of bombarding just solutions at them like
Everything.
a pre-template
Mm-hmm.
style of coaching. And
Right.
where corporates lack is that while you have your HR departments who would conduct these different communication skill set and
Mm-hmm.
orientations and
Mm-hmm.
workshops or what have you, where they lack is the one to one connection with the person on the other end.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's a very template way of doing things.
Yes.
That's not going to help the ideal user to understand what
Yep.
are my specific pain points, how can I address those. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I want to work with a lot more in the clients that I work with in future.
Yeah, and what I'm understanding is like generally people do problem solution and it's not tailored. What you're doing is seeing this specific problem and then coming up with tailored solutions. And I've seen people post about how you've helped them as well on LinkedIn where they've tagged you like, oh, we had this thing with Clarissa and this is what she said and it was a revelation for us. So I'm glad that you're able to tailor it for their specific needs and actually help them out because like you said, LinkedIn posts, they're just like that problem solution. It's a one size fits all at that point, right?
Yeah.
But getting into the specifics is what really makes the difference. So when you go to these trainings and when you go to helping people, different teams, what
Mhm.
does confidence look like when you're starting from square one? I'm sure this must be a question that a lot of people must be asking you when you're doing these trainings too.
Confidence. Funny enough, when I was looking at this question as I was preparing for this podcast, is I was thinking about the mall square one that we have in
Me too.
Mr.
That's what came to my head as well.
And I was there at Square One just a couple of days ago. Keeping that aside, confidence is a lot of internal work that you have to do.
Hmm.
A very cliche answer to give, but it's true. Confidence is not something that people are born with. They really take an active effort to refine it day in and day out.
For
So,
sure.
when I say internal work, I specifically mean that can you visualize yourself giving an awesome presentation and your teammates feeling like, you know what, that was such a wonderful presentation that I learned so many new things and I didn't know that Sakshi had so much potential to deliver an experience like that,
Yep.
right? A lot of people get stuck in their own ways of that, oh, I'm not a good communicator, I'm not a good
Mm.
speaker, I feel very ashamed. They just wallow in this wall of my skill set is limited to this, so I'm not even going to imagine what good
Mm.
state look like. So confidence is a lot of internal narrative that you're playing on in yourself, and which is why I I feel that your first step to emulating good confidence in within yourself is to dream it.
Right.
Dream big, right? And I know this gets a lot of shade. Oh, visualization is such a hoax and manifestation is
No.
such a hoax. While there might be some truth to it, it could be
Yeah.
too much of a hoax if you're trying to make money off of it. But to your point about like my testimonials that I have recently posted of conducting
Yeah.
training workshops, right? I wrote to myself that what would my routine look like before I went in front of everyone. I told myself that, okay, Clarissa is going to go to the washroom, do a lipstick check, do shoulder rotation. She's going to have a
Yeah.
smile on her face.
Yeah.
What's her body stance? And
Mhm.
when I leave the meeting room, I really want all of the things that I have taught and spoken about to be lingered on and impressed in their mind.
Yeah.
So, visualization is what helps you move the needle, and visualization itself is not going to stop, right? You may have visions, but along with those visions, on the next side, you've got to put what are the actions that you're actually going to take
Exactly.
to make
Yeah.
that vision come true. So, that's
Mhm.
the part of like manifestation that people forget. Like, okay, let me just make a fancy vision board that, captures whatever I want, my matcha latte,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
Aritzia dress, so on and so forth. That's good. But
Mhm.
how do you take it one step further is along with that, have pictures of what are the actions that you're taking on a consistent basis to
Yeah.
make this happen.
Exactly. I believe that so much because people are like, manifest it, manifest that. But you're just speaking it out and visualizing it. But what actions are you taking to achieve that? Like, manifestation is really just a fancy word at this point. But if you don't do anything about it, there's nothing to achieve there.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally nothing. Even for myself, starting this podcast, for my co host and myself for that matter, we both are ambiverts, I want to say. Like, we chat with people, but then we go through phases where we need battery to recharge. And people see us on this podcast and they're like, you guys must be extroverts. I'm like, actually, no. But to show up every time, do an episode, speak to someone, it takes effort, and it takes basically the manifestation bit, but the action. This is the action bit, right? Like, we wanted to build a podcast, we wanted to do
Mm.
something of our own, but what are we actually doing to achieve that? We're putting that
Mm.
action into place. And that's
Yeah.
something that people don't realize and think like, I'm manifesting, but if you're not doing anything about it, it's not going to manifest, quite literally.
Yeah. On that front, I would, think about Andrew Huberman. He said something that stayed with me on the manifestation front, that when you're manifesting something, don't share it with the world.
Hmm.
Reason being is that sharing with the world gives you the confidence that you've already achieved it, because they'll
Right.
validate it. Oh, like, good, you
Yeah.
go, girl, etc., etc. While you need one or two people in that,
Yeah.
in your life who could support your dreams, you don't need the
Mhm.
world to support your dreams. You got to actually attain it. So, which is
Exactly.
why my mantra to anyone who is on this journey of dreaming and achieving it is that have those conversations internally to yourself. Don't
Mhm.
invite everyone into it, because that just gives you fake validation that you've achieved something already when you haven't.
Yeah. No, that makes so much sense. And I've seen things fall through just because, you've shared it. Something else that comes to my mind, and we both are from India, we're South Asian, and culture is a very big thing for us. Like, we get influenced by so many different things growing up, and we're conditioned a certain way. And some are good conditioning, and some we try to get out of and break out of, right? Do you think immigrants or South Asian cultural conditioning impacts our ability to make bold choices in our life like you have?
Yeah, I would take it a step further and say not just South Asian conditioning, but this immigrant mindset really helps you think about the ways that I've already left all of the social security and sense of stability that I had. So, what's
Yeah.
stopping me from taking it one more step further and trying something new? A lot of people that I interacted, and we're so blessed, Sakshi, to live in a metropolitan city like
Definitely.
Toronto. You can get at 7 p.m. a Korean food, a Japanese food, South American food, Mexican,
Anything.
anything at all. And
Yeah.
what that does is that it also gives you access to so many cultures and
Mm.
cultural nuances and context. And every time
Exactly.
I've spoken to somebody who's immigrated from another country, is their sheer desire to try something new out,
Yeah.
right? Try a
Yeah.
new lifestyle, such as hitting the gym or finding communities to actually grow their own sense of
Mm.
belonging now.
Right.
So, as for bold choices with what I'm doing with public speaking coaching and communication coaching as well, I would say that you don't have to be an immigrant to take bold choices. You just need to have faith in yourself. And I hope that anyone who listens to this feels that they're ready to take whichever leaps of faith they need to take in their life.
I feel like I'm ready to do something and I'm already doing a lot of things. So
Mission
I'm like, wait.
accomplished.
But the way you've just said everything and explained things, it's like, okay, yeah, I can do something else. Like, what should I do now?
Hmm.
It's like I still want to do more. So I'm
Yeah.
sure like some other people might be thinking as well that they needed this little push. They needed to tune in and, hear these words from you, and maybe it's a sign for them. So I'm hoping they take that away. And this is the last leg of our podcast, and this is something that all our guests get asked on desperate times. Um, when was the last time you felt like you were in desperate times yourself, and how did you get out of it?
Yeah. The last time when I was desperate is when I made my application to become a permanent resident here in Canada. And I
Oh,
remember how anxious I was. I kept refreshing my Gmail feed every 30 minutes. That's how bad it was. And it was getting to a point where I couldn't sleep at night. I remember there was this one night distinctly that I was up at 3 a.m. just refreshing. I looked at myself like, what am I doing? This is definitely not in my control. What is it doing to me right now and my sanity as well? So that was the peak of my desperate times. And as for your second part of the question as to what I did to get out of it, two things. One is this theme you would have heard throughout the entire conversation of my connection with God and faith and the
yeah.
influence of faith that has been there. So, going back to reading the Word of God, and that's something that has helped me a lot to keep my sanity, knowing that God is with me through all of this, and I
Yeah.
just got to trust Him in the process. So, that was one. And the second thing that I started actively doing is that I have all of this energy to invest in something that's not yielding me any results. So let me
Mhm.
calibrate all of that energy into things that will this manifestation slash like forward looking idea.
Yeah.
How can I use that energy to look forward looking? So I started applying for jobs even before I got my PR because in my head I was like, you know what, I'm going to get it. And
Yeah.
maybe I'll make a connection here. If this thing wouldn't work out, I'm still laying my land or like laying my things to ensure that
Yep.
I'm baiting something else. Maybe I'm so
Exactly.
awesome that someone else would be like, you know what, Clarissa, we want to ensure that we give you another work permit. So that is how I ensured that I could get out of my desperate times. But for anyone who's in a similar position of like applying for their permanent residency and not getting it, trust me, it's a very stressful process. I've been there. And if I want to tell you anything, this is this that you've did everything in your capacity, all the output is on the other side. You just got to be patient with yourself and use that energy into something else.
I'm literally gonna cry right now. I really needed to hear that. Believe it or not, I'm going through those things right now. And what you said is, we've done everything we could, put your energy somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's what I've been trying to do for the past couple of months. That's literally what I'm trying to do with the podcast, with the content, with LinkedIn, everything. It's like, it's not in my hands anymore, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you do? And faith,
Yes.
I mean, you just hit the point. I'm like, does every immigrant go through these same things? Because you said you went through that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I am in that same place right now. And what she's saying, I'm literally trying to do all of that.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people will take a lot of it away from it, will relate to it, who've been there already. And thank you for sharing your desperate time, because it's not easy to really be so candid about these things either. So we appreciate your honesty there.
No, I appreciate the time that you've given me. Thank you so much for doing this and taking the leap of starting something and putting something helpful for your own sanity, but also it's going to reap the rewards as long as both of us stay consistent with it. So here's to
Consistency.
consistency.
Yeah, yes,
Cheers
to
to
consistency.
consistency.
Cheers. And Clarissa also has a podcast. And Clarissa, why don't you tell our viewers and listeners where they can find you?
Of course. The best way to find me is on LinkedIn. I do all things communication tips on LinkedIn. The second best place to find me is my newsletter. It's a weekly newsletter where I share one actionable tip of how do you infuse communication, actionable professional communication tips into your life. So right now I'm going through the series of how do you emanate charisma, and
Hmm.
this Monday, I'm going to talk about how do you ensure that you bring confidence in the way you communicate. And it's not your usual like dress well, yada, yada, yada. It's more about like what is the internal work that needs to go in, as I was talking
Mm.
earlier, to
Yeah.
emanate that. And if you're not ready for the newsletter, I totally get some people are more visual than reading through content. Come to my YouTube. I keep releasing videos about how do you level up your Zoom meetings, how do you level up
Uh-huh.
your Google Meet meetings, so that you're not just a boring presenter asking your audience that, can you hear me? Can you see this presentation right now, and how to really change your level up your game.
And I follow those videos. Like I watch them for myself because I do so many meetings and I found those super helpful. So any one of y'all who feel like you need to go see this, go connect with Clarissa. She is amazing, and connect with her on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and subscribe to that newsletter too. Even if she says that y'all might not be interested and that y'all want it on Monday to see that confidence information that Clarissa just dropped for y'all. So
Yeah.
with that, thank you so much, Clarissa. This was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. See y'all next week. Bye.
Bye bye.